Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we're going to have a little fun with kind of a sneaky peeky card here. You can see that when you open it up, you are going to be able to see the inside with these cute little calming koi. So to start with, I have a card base. This is 4¼ by 5½, and it is a side fold. I'm then going to take the stitched scalloped circles die set, and I'm going to take the largest one and I'm going to pop that into position. I'm just having it a little bit over the side. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm then going to use some of the satin masking tape from Altenew to keep that in place. That means when I run this through my die cutting machine, it won't move. As you can see, I have opened the card up. If I didn't, it would have cut through the back as well, and that's not something I wanted. I did add a little bit of shim on top of mine because my plates are dirty, and I did not want the front of my card base getting a little bit of muck on it. Alright, so once that has been done, I'm then going to take another panel. Now this is 4¼ by 5½, and I want to make sure that I'm cutting that same die in exactly the same place. This is going to act as a little bit of a sandwich when we do add the vellum to the inside of the card. So I'm just going to line that up with the one that we've just cut, add the tape so it sticks to the panel underneath, and then I'm going to carefully remove this card base, just gently easing that out from the die. That means that when I cut this out now in my die cutting machine, when I place this behind, they are going to be cut in exactly the same position. And that means when I add the vellum in between those two pieces and sandwich it together, it is going to be hidden. So like I said, I am going to be using a piece of vellum, and this is what I have here. I've just cut this so it's slightly larger than the kind of gap that we've created. And I'm just going to be using some embossing powder on this. So I have used some anti-static powder, aka some baby powder. I'm then going to be using the water stencil from Altenew. I'm going to pop that into place, and I'm going to use a kind of felt blending brush to add some of the embossing ink from Altenew through the stencil and add this onto the vellum. I find it's easier to kind of pounce the ink first and then move that around with the felt blending tool. You could use anything else that you do have, maybe a makeup sponge or some cotton wool. That would work as well. All you want to do is transfer this sticky ink through the stencil, the holes in the stencil, to the vellum beneath. So once I have done that and I'm happy, I'm then going to remove the stencil. I do have that on my sticky mat, and you can see that that has kept that in place perfectly. I can then remove my little vellum panel and then add on some embossing powder. This is the translucent pearl, so this is very pretty. It is clear, and it also has a touch of glitter in it. It's kind of blue glitter, so I thought this would be perfect for the kind of water look that I'm going for. So once that has been done, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little tweezers that you can see here, and this is going to help me hold this tiny piece of vellum while I heat set it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start heat setting from the back. I always find that with vellum, the embossing powder takes far quicker than it does on a piece of cardstock. So I do recommend that heating from the back is the best way to do it, as it means that all of that little powder bits that we have on there are not going to fly away in any way, shape or form. Once I have done the rest of the panel, I'm just going to do that tiny little piece that was covered with the tweezers. So now you can see that we have the translucent vellum with also the translucent embossing on there as well. It looks so pretty, and I'm so excited to pop this back into place onto my panel. So what I've done is on the back side of the die cut that we have on the card base, I've just added some of the ultra sticky tape from Altenew around that opening, and this is what's going to keep the vellum into place. So once I have removed all of the beautiful backing that we have on the sticky tape, I'm then going to take my vellum piece, and I'm having that embossing side down. So that means that the embossing is going to show through the front, and we have the plain piece on the back. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to trim down this little panel. Reason being, I want it to sit within the confines of the card base. And if I have it the same size, it may peek out a little, especially on the edge. So just taking a tiny touch off all of the edges is really going to cut down on that. And then I'm going to add some super sticky tape all the way onto the front of the little panel that we have. And this is going to encase that piece of vellum that we have on the front. So I'm just going to remove all of those little pieces again. And then I'm going to line up the little die cut pieces that we have on the front and also on this little panel so we can see through that because we just have the vellum. And then once I'm happy with the placement that everything's lined up perfectly, I'm just going to press that down and that tape is going to stick to the front and also make sure that that vellum is not going to move anywhere. It looks so pretty just as it is now, and just as it is, it would make a very pretty wedding card as well. I do like a white on white wedding card. So once that has been done, I'm then going to add detail to the inside of my card base. I'm going to use the same stencil as before. I have cleaned this so it's no longer sticky with the embossing ink. And I'm just using my super sticky mat, as you can see underneath me, to keep that stencil and also the card base into place. I'm going to be using 2 different colors on this when I move this around. So the first one that I am going to be using is the sea glass ink, and I'm going to be using a small blending tool to add some ink through this. Now I'm trying to just add the ink just where the little opening is on the front, the little window, but I am going a little bit further in and kind of gradually add that ink out. So it is going to look very pretty. You are going to have a little space as well to add your greeting on the inside of the card, so don't worry too much. So once I'm happy with the amount of ink that I have there, I'm just going to remove that stencil and then I'm going to twist it around just on a 90-degree angle, and then I'm going to pop that back into place onto the little sticky mat. This time I'm going to be using the Dewdrops ink, so I have used some really light blues for this. You could use some darker ones if you wanted to, but I just wanted some really light ones. So I'm going to go over exactly where I did before, trying to keep in to the kind of space that the window is cut out from the front. And this is going to add a really cool kind of reflective water feel on the top of this with the layered water builder that we have here. So once I am happy with the amount of ink on this one, I'm going to do like I did before, and I'm just going to remove this, and you can see just how pretty that looks when you remove that. And then when you close it as well, it's beautiful again, because then we have a third layer of that water stencil on the top as well. Very pretty, and I just love the look of this. So once that has been done, I'm going to move this over to the side, and then I can work on my little focus elements that we have, and I'm going to be using the Calming Koi die set. So 4 parts of the fins on the die set of the little fish that we have, we are going to be using some vellum. Now, to stick it down really easily, I find that the best way is to firstly add your vellum onto a piece of double-sided adhesive. This is the Altenew double-sided adhesive. All I've done is added the vellum on there and then kept the backing on. That way I have created my own little kind of vellum sticker sheet, and from this I'm going to cut out 2 of the fish, and then I'm going to cut 1 of the fish out again, so I have 3 fish in total. And then I'm going to cut the little fins that we have as well as cutting these beautiful little fish that we have here. They also add in some embossed detail to the fins, so it really adds a touch of kind of texture to these and a little bit more interest. So I'm just going to line those up onto my little vellum sheet, and then I'm going to run that through my mini blossom machine. I am using the metal shim with this, as I want to make sure that those embossed details come out first time. I don't want to have to run this through again. So as you can see, I have done 2 of those fish at once, and you can just see here how beautifully they have cut. You can cut them out beautifully, and you can cut these out again and again and create a cluster of little fish if you wanted to. So once I have removed those from the vellum sheet, what I'm going to do is going to take 1 of those fish again, and then the coordinating fin piece, and I'm going to cut myself a 3rd fish. I do like to have my focal elements in 3s, So that's why I'm going to cut myself an extra fish there. So once that has been done, I am then going to cut the rest of the pieces, for the fish from some white cardstock. As you can see, I do have some of that double-sided adhesive on the back of this piece of cardstock as well. That means that I'm going to really quickly and easily be able to pop these together by just removing the backing and then layering these little pieces up to create these really cute fish. So I'm going to cut those all out, and once I have done that, I'm going to add some color to the cardstock pieces. So I am going to be adding that on to my ultra sticky mat so they don't move around when I do my ink blending onto them. So I did cut the 2 fish, and then I also cut that extra fish that I did for the vellum piece too. So to start with, I am going to be using the chamomile ink, and I'm going to use this over all of the fish. And I'm going to add it in various different spots just to make these fish look a little bit different. I tried not to add it in the perfect place on all of them. So this is the chamomile, and I am using a small blending tool to add those in. So once that has been done, I'm then going to move on to terracotta. And I'm just using the same blending tool. So this is a small blending tool to add some more of that color to kind of the center of the little pieces of fish that we have here. Once I'm happy with the amount of terracotta that I've put down, I'm then going to take the chamomile again and go all over the fish. And this is going to give me a really beautiful kind of gradient to the colors, so we don't have one kind of solid color all the way over this. So it's going to make it look a little bit more natural. Once that's done, I'm going to add some spots onto my fish. So if you see a koi, you see that some of them do have like natural markings on them. And I'm using the Calming Koi stamp set to add these on. So I've used some terracotta first. This one here is then the Snapdragon. So I'm just using a mix of orangey colors first. I'm then going to add in some gray. So this is the Silver Lake. And I'm using some of the smaller dots. If you wanted to kind of stretch this stamp set out as well, you could use these dots to create a really cool background as well. So you don't need to just think of these as kind of fish markings. You could use them on other animals, maybe on cows and things like that. Or even the Gentle Giraffes die set would be a good idea to use these and kind of stretch them. As well as the grey, I'm also adding some black using the Jet Black set. Now, at this point, I realized I shouldn't have gone over the kind of eye place with my blending, but that is fine. We can cover that over using the fabulous acrylic markers from Altenew. So I'm just kind of dabbing that white marker in where the eyes should be on the little fish. I am sorry that I colored them in, but we are able to give him his eyes back. So I'm just going to dab that in so we have then the white color on the bottom piece of the fish, just where the eyes are going to go. All we're going to then need to do is then layer the top piece onto the bottom piece. And remember, we do have that double-sided adhesive on the back, so all we're going to need to do is remove that and then line up the edges of the fish of both parts. And that is going to sit, and it's just going to have that kind of cut out part on the top so you can see the eyes and also the whiskers from underneath there. So that is our second one, and then I'm just going to add in the third. You can see just how sticky that ultra sticky mat is, and it is fabulous for doing your ink blending and various other techniques as well. So once I have that done, what we're then going to do is add in a little dot for the little eye. I'm using the acrylic markers from Altenew again, and that one is the black one. And then we're going to add on the bottom pieces of the fish. So I'm going to remove the backing off the little layered piece of fish that we have at the minute, and I'm just going to pop that into place onto the fin piece that we have. So this is the largest piece that we have of our fish. So you can see just how easy these are to layer up together. They're so easy and so fun. You could definitely do these in different colors as well to create kind of different species of fish if you wanted to. I think that would be really, really fun. Maybe has some blue ones. Oh, or even some rainbow fish as well. You could do like a red one, orange one, yellow one, green one. That would be so pretty. Yeah, that's next on my list of things to do, I think, with these fabulous little fish dyes. So as you can see, I have kept going and I've added all of the layers, the bottom layers, to my fish. All I need to do now is add in my fin pieces, and these are just gonna line up along the center piece of the fish, along the back portion. Now these really don't matter if you don't stick them perfectly in the right place. They're still gonna look really, really cool. You could also mix and match the fins that we have for the two different fish to give different looks to them as well. So don't think that you need to stick to this kind of combination all the time. So I've added those down, and because we have that double-sided adhesive on there, you can see that you're not able to see that through the vellum. Once I have my fish, I'm going to kind of play around with the placement on the back piece or the inside of my card. So I'm going to add 2 of my fish into the kind of little pond that we've created on the front, and I'm going to have 1 on the front as well. Once I'm happy with the kind of placement that's going on, I'm then going to remove the backing off the vellum piece that we have at the bottom and then pop that into position. I'm adding the front one into place first, and then I'm going to add in the bottom ones. These are just so fun. I love how these turned out. So I'm just going to play around. As you can see, I took the backing off, but before I pressed it down firmly, I then had a look through the window to see if it was going to be visible and to see if I liked the placement before I did stick that down permanently. So I'm just going to fit my third one into position, and that's the inside of the card complete. All we really need now is a sentiment. I just love how cool that looks from the front. So for my sentiment, I am going to be using the Calming Koi stamp set. And I'm also going to be embossing that onto some jet black cardstock. Because I'm going to be heat embossing this, I have added some anti-static powder on. I use baby powder for mine. And I'm going to take one of the sentiments from the stamp set, and I'm going to be adding that onto an acrylic block. I use one of the acrylic blocks from Altenew. This had some really good kind of guidelines in there to make sure that your sentiment is nice and straight before you stamp that. As I am going to be heat embossing, I am using some of the embossing ink from Altenew, and I'm using the pure white embossing powder so I can have that beautiful bold white look on the dark cardstock for my sentiment. I'm going to start embossing that from behind and then move it to the front when it starts to melt. I then trimmed my little sentiment piece into a little thin banner, and then I'm going to add some of the foam tape from Altenew just behind that to add a little bit of a lift. Once I have popped that into place, my card is now complete, and here is the finished card. So you can see at the front we have that beautiful fish and the sentiment, which we can then see kind of through to the inside of the card, and then we have the 2 fish and the detail of the water on the inside. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the card and that you like the video as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it would be great if you do share. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.